So today I'm going to be demoing first look at our Slack and Microsoft Teams integrations with DataHub. And it all started with obviously trying to bring metadata and people closer together. You know, people come to DataHub to discover and curate and do all of the amazing things that they want to do with metadata. But then people are also off in other systems like Slack or Teams, and they're conversing and talking about data and other things like the weather. And they're also reacting to stuff that's happening. But so far, these two worlds have been split apart. And these people, they're having to kind of come over from one system to the other just to do the things that they wanted to do better. And with this initiative, we are starting to bring these worlds closer together. So what are the things we can do? Obviously, from the places where you are already at, you should be able to get notified on changes that are happening to your metadata, as well as be able to query metadata right from your workspace. And then in the reverse direction, you should be able to enrich context back into the metadata graph, add conversations, add the ability to document things right from where you are in your workspace. So that's kind of the future, right? You want kind of seamless bi-directional integrations between these two worlds. Today, I'm going to be demoing just one of those edges, being able to have changes being observed within a workspace. All good so far? Let's get right into it. How do you do this? Well, there is a system we've built called the DataHub Actions Framework. It's an open source repository, and it makes it very easy for you to subscribe to changes that are happening in your metadata graph and then doing things with it. At the highest level, it's basically a metadata event change stream. You can act on an event, decide to process it, and send it off to a destination. In the act of processing the message, you can actually check back with DataHub and enrich the message so that the message has a lot of additional context when you send it over to your workspace. And we're going to walk through how we build something like this and then do a quick demo. So first of all, how do you build a Slack app? That itself can be a little daunting to people, but Slack apps actually have become very easy to build. All you have to do is, if you're a Slack workspace admin, just go into your this particular area, click create a new app, use a manifest. We'll give you a manifest that you can just paste into this section, select your workspace, and then install it in your workspace. If you're an admin, you should be able to allow this easily. I literally did this last night. It took me 5 minutes. So it's a pretty easy and painless process. Once you do that, you have to take note of certain things that Slack provisions for your app. There's a signing secret, as well as an OAuth token that gets provisioned for your bot. Once you're armed with these credentials, you're now ready to build the integration. Oh, one last step, you need to add your app to the channel that you need to send notifications to. So the way I've built this app is it essentially sends notifications to a specific channel that it is invited to. So in this case, I went to DataHub open source, the Slack community, and I created a channel called Demo Slack Notifications. If you're on the Slack right now, you could actually join it. And I added this app to that channel. Once you do that, you're now ready to write some code. First, read the docs, clone the repo. It's Acryl Data DataHub Actions. And once you've done that, you start to build, right? And there are really 3 steps to building an action. The first step is figuring out what configuration you need. So we talked about those credentials. We need a bot token. We need a signing secret. We probably need a default channel to send these messages to. If we want to render the links, we want to know where DataHub is hosted at. So at your company, it might be datahub.mycompany.something. In the case of Acryl customers, it's like customers.acryl.io. In case of demo.datahub project, it's demo.datahubproject.io. That's where you set it up. And there's a lot of noise sometimes in the system activity log. So if you want to suppress that, you set that to true or false, things like that. Just a little bit of configurability on how to process messages. And then you build an initialization script for your class to get initialized. Maybe you want to send a welcome message the moment your action comes alive to the app. Slack gives you a very nice API, so you can instantiate an app with the tokens that you have, and then you can post a welcome message. What does this look like? Something like this. So far, we've not even really used actions. We've just built the Hello World app that starts up and posts a message when it starts up. And this is what a message like that looks like. So this is just saying hello world. But now it gets interesting. Let's start processing some events. What are the kinds of events? Read the docs, but at a high level, there's basically two types. Metadata changelog v1, which is like the raw stream of changes, and entity change event v1, which is like a semantic log of changes. We highly recommend you use that because it actually gives you a much simpler event model to process. And so the way I wrote the code was just check if it's an ECE, otherwise just drop it. And if it's an ECE, then kind of understand the entity change event to figure out which entity performed what via which thing on which entity. So for example, Chris performed add tag event via the tag PII on the entity DBT table X, right? At that time, I can also do entity attribute lookups. For example, I could decorate Chris's URN to understand he's actually Professor Chris Collins, not just Chris, and then pretty print it out over, the destination could be Slack or Teams. This is what the code looks like. It's actually not a lot of code, just a few lines. You can see me checking for the event type, and then, I have a helper class that allows me to get a message from an entity change event with a channel and then posting the message over. Teams is actually very similar. I actually did it even simply with just using an incoming webhook, and that gives you a webhook URL, and there we go. So demo time, if you are on the DataHub Slack, you can actually head over to the channel, demo Slack notifications. I will be going over there as well, so you can see my screen. Here we are. As you can see, this was the message last night. Thanks, Peter, for deploying the actions pod. And I added Maggie, and that's all that's been happening. So let's go over to demo and do something. So for example, here's this DBT table. And I actually don't think that this is the right description. So I think this is not just an identifier. This is a unique identifier. And let's update the docs. Done. Oh, there it is. DataHub has updated documentation for column customer ID for DBT table customers. I've got a nice link over here. And if I click into it, I go right into the table with the customer ID column highlighted. So that's pretty cool. I also think the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control does not really own this data set. So let me actually remove them as an owner. And yeah, there you go. We have removed this owner. What else can we do? Pretty much anything, like just have fun, play around with it, add stuff, remove stuff. Now we know what you're doing on demo.datahubproject.io. So be nice.
You're already getting some pretty exciting emoji reactions in there.
Yeah. Oh, something interesting. You can go into, since DataHub is such a boring name, you could actually go and edit the name and say DataHub Demo God.
The power is getting to your head.
And then maybe you can go, oh, I've not done this before. Let's see if ML models work. Let's remove a glossary term. Where's that X? It's so small. There it is. Ah, there you go. DataHub Demo God. So as you can see, the decoration actually works. Awesome. And the same thing happens on Teams as well. So this Teams thing is private. So proof it works. We have this, the same messages going over Teams as well. So you can set this up yourself and have fun with it. Back here, that was the demo. What's the current status? This is actually live. So this is connected up to demo.datahub. This gets deployed from head. So as you make changes to this Slack notification, you will actually see those changes reflected in the notifications coming over there. It also works with Quick Start. So ask over Slack for instructions. Docs are on their way. So you can actually try this out with your local Quick Start right now. Code is over here on the actions repo. But really what's next is, of course, docs, but community-led development. I mean, the reason for us building the Slack and the Teams integration is just to show you how it's done. And we really want you to take ownership of what does an amazing app experience look like. Richer previews, could we be doing app unfurls? Could we be doing interactive messages? Could we do slash commands like /discover or something like that? How do we pipe operational signals like, hey, a data set just landed and its data quality score looks pretty bad, the world is your oyster. And so have fun with it and send us PRs. We are really excited to give you this app and to see you take it wherever you want it to go.